Late.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular scheduled meeting of the Commissioners Court. Let the record show that all the members are present. And if you would, please stand, and I'd like to welcome Reverend Schubert from United Pentecostal Church in Huntington to lead us in our prayers.
May we bow our heads. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today with hearts that are humbled and so thankful for all of the blessings which you bestow upon us. We come needing you more than we need anything in this world, Lord. And I humbly ask you to guide the hands of these people that are leading us today. Let every step that's taken, every word that's spoken be approved, blessed by you, and in your beautiful, holy, and perfect will. Keep your hand upon all of our leaders, Lord. Protect them and guide them as they lead us. Let it be in your will and in your way. For these things we give you all the honor, all the praise, and all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Help me in the pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, everybody be seated. All right, item number 4. Discussion and action on a request from Bobby Cheshire, Commissioner Precinct 4, to have the official court record in the minutes amended from the January 10th, 2019 Commissioners Court regarding the vote on then item 4. Mr. Cheshire wanted to reflect him abstaining from the voting on the item of adding a public forum. Commissioners?
I didn't vote for it, didn't vote against it, and I don't think I verbalized it well enough for the court clerk to understand my intent during the discussion. So I apologize to the court for that. I think Ms. Fisher has reviewed the tape, and she did see where I didn't vote for it or against it. And I'd like the record to reflect the fact that I abstained or didn't vote for it.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, let me say something first. So, I feel I can change the minutes of any meeting like this. We really need to be sure what we're doing. And I want to table this at this time until we have a chance to look over the records, and then we'll bring it back up in the next court, and that'll give us a chance to all be sure of what we're doing here.
Sure. So, I don't have a problem.
So I have the motion just to table it at this time, and then we'll revisit it later.
No problem. I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Number 5, discussion and action on approval of bonds of the elected officials of the Angelina County whose terms begin January 1, 2019.
Motion approved.
Second. All right. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Appearance of Daniel Cummins, Goodwin, Laster, and Strong to discuss and request approval of the final plat of the Barbie subdivision in Precinct 1. Morning, sir.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Jed Morris. Dan Cummins is with me, but got a couple of things.
There they are. Thank you.
Cool.
Given those to you already.
That's all right.
One second.
We're requesting final approval of a subdivision. It's a subdivision of 1.374 acres of property out of the Juan Bautista Pompadour Survey, abstract number 36. This is a property that's occupied by, there's one house, as you see on your exhibit there. The one house occupies what we're calling Lot 1 of that property, and then what we're looking to pull off of it is a Lot 2. In doing so, we've created a tract of land that's less than 3/4 of an acre. The subdivision ordinance requires that any new property be at least 3/4 of an acre. The purpose of that Lot 2 is Central WCID is looking to purchase that for the future installation of an elevated storage tank to serve the community and the members of the WCID. Part of the purchase arrangement would be that we would construct for Mr. Barbie a new on-site sewer system on that remaining 3/4 of an acre that his house is on, to make sure that's in good order, and also to make sure that we don't have any potential contamination of our water facilities there. The other concern on this subdivision is we have created a landlocked piece of property. There's no access to this, or there's no adjacent public roadway touching this property, this Lot 2 that would be created. Right now, the WCID is in the 26th year of a 50-year lease of the property that they occupy, which on your drawing there, it'll be just to the east, or the right-hand side. That's the property they occupy. So they're in the middle of a 50-year lease with the option to extend that or renew that lease for another 50 years at the expiration of that. They're working to purchase that land. It's owned by the property or by the church across the street, but we're not real confident that will go through anytime soon. So if y'all have any questions on this, be glad to
Do you know if
answer.
they're wanting to put a tower or a
It would be elevated.
tank or just a standpipe?
Well, it would be a multi-leg elevated storage tank there. 4 to 6 legs probably.
Okay.
Possibly one with one single column
Big one.
going up it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. But that's, of course, is to provide for the future needs of the customers. And they're approaching their capacity that they do need that additional. We don't expect to build it in immediately, but we want to have the land acquired so that when the time does come, we have our plans together to go ahead and construct that in time to keep the customers in water.
Commissioner Harris?
Yeah, let me just break in there on that. I've been sitting with these guys talking about this situation they got. Now, he brought up a variance about the 3/4 acre subdivision, but, and I may have to ask the attorney about this, but if it's sewer, if the subdivision, it's gotta be 3/4 of an acre to substantiate the sewer. Is that correct? Kerry?
In general, that's correct.
Okay, so, but we're not having any sewer on this thing. All they're gonna do is put a tire up in the middle of it. And so my question is, why would we need a variance for that? I mean, if it's gonna be a sole purpose for a water tower, there's no other water, there's no other sewer, what, would that be something that we could pass?
I don't see a reason that there shouldn't be a problem. I mean, it's, they're asking for a variance from the 3/4 acre, and I understand that for good purpose.
On
Good
subdivision,
purpose,
because it's a subdivision.
And this isn't a subdivision.
No, it's just
Yeah.
but there's no other sewer or anything on this thing, so, but I guess my question back to Mr. Kirby again, is that something we can do?
Commissioner, just to answer your question, it may be possible. I don't have the regulations here right with me. I'd be glad to review those and give you a written opinion on it. At this point, I couldn't tell you
Okay.
100%.
possible under our existing regulations.
All right, sir?
According to the Nature Valley Authority,
Uh-huh.
their regulations are a half acre is required if the property has access to a community water supply. If they do not have access to community water supply, they have an on-site well, then they require 3/4 of an acre
Okay.
of property for the on-site sewer. That's their actual.
That's the water side
That's
of it.
state,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's state
counties is different.
requirements.
yeah.
Right. It's up to you, Commissioner, we can
What? I
can
got
table
one-
it, you
One thing, the easement concerns me more than that, actually. So if I understood it right, in 25 years, there may not be an easement to this property?
No,
Did I
sir.
understand it right?
This subdivision would be done with the easement on it.
Okay.
This 20-foot easement that we're showing to come up through
Okay.
there, we may need it for drainage, for a water line to come in there. Worst case, if we needed to get in there and
Exit.
we lost that access from the highway, we could come in. We tried to make it straight without any meanders so that we could go straight in and don't have to have a whole lot of room. But that was one of the conditions that our board up at the Water District said, we really, while we're at it, go ahead and put an easement in there.
They do own that property to the, adjacent to it now though, right?
They're in that long-term lease
Okay.
on that property between it and the highway that shows on there as Clawson Baptist Church.
Right.
They're the owner of it, and they're the ones who the lease, now the church has changed names, so, but that's who the lease is with, essentially.
So even if the church don't release to them, there'll be an easement to it?
Yes, sir. As long as, for 74 years, they've got legal rights to it. That's the remaining 24 years of this 50-year lease, and then the renewed 50-year lease. They've got legal access to that property. It's just, well, like I said, they're working, they made an offer on the property to the church, and initially, that looks like that could be a protracted process of doing that. The church is concerned about turning that land over that was donated and such. That, to reiterate what the commissioner said, this, by placing an elevated storage tank on this, you don't have room to do anything else. You can't develop it for residential.
So there'd be no need for a sewer.
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Nothing, yeah.
We will periodically may overflow or drain that tank, and we'll make provisions to get that water over to the drainage system. But there will be no wastewater generated on this site at all.
It's gonna be a very dedicated piece of property. Do you have any idea on the time frame when this deal may go through?
No, sir. Right now, and the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality is interested in their elevated storage tank capacity. We're at the point that the state has said you need to start construction, and they've agreed to allow us, the growth rate out there has slowed down immensely. And projecting it out, we may or may not need this elevated storage tank in the foreseeable future. And we're going to watch that closely. We've got it backed up to where we can project out that, considering the time it would take to construct it, that we would hit 100% at the same time that tank is completed. We would prefer to hold off building it as long as we can. But one of the conditions of that, we've been working on trying to get this property for a year. And that's one of the unknowns that we just have no control over. If we can acquire the property, have plans in place to build the tank, we're in the driver's seat at that point and can build it in the time frame that we project. But no, sir, we don't have no definite plans for doing that.
The only thing, well, you want to say something, Kerry?
Well, Commissioner, I was going to say that, you know, sounds like there might be some time to take this into further consideration. If it's something the court wanted to, and met with a time frame to table and take up again next time, I'd be glad to look at it and review the regulations and submit the court a written opinion on whether it can be subdivided as
Yeah.
proposed at this point.
This subdivision, we've had lots of discussions about subdivisions even since I've been in court. And at this time, I'd like to table it until we have an opinion from our county attorney, and then come back and visit this next court meeting. So,
Second that motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank y'all.
You bet. Thank you. All right, appearance of Michael G. Parker, number 7. Everett Griffith and Associates to discuss and request approval of the final plat of Wesley Havard subdivision, Lot 1 revised in Precinct 4. Oh, Michael.
Well, since I don't know all I know about that last one, I'll try to make this one easier because I'm confused on the last one. Because I don't know anything about it. This was an existing Lot 2, or Lot 1 of an existing subdivision out off of Morris Road. Lot 2 went back to Brookwood when it was originally divided, and this was a 2-acre lot that the owners of the 2-acre lot have now decided they want to divide. They have left the required 30-foot out to Morris Road so that this is kind of a panhandle shape, but they want to leave, they wanted, got to have access, so it's got the 30-foot. And we put on there the normal, since the property went out in the road, we did our normal. We gave a 25-foot road easement from the center of the existing road and then added the 10-foot drainage and utility easement behind it. I believe that Commissioner Cheshire has reviewed this, and I'm willing to answer any questions, and if none, ask y'all's approval of the plat.
I reviewed it, it's all sound. I know the property, played there when I was a kid, but, I request.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, request court.
All right.
Second.
A second. All right. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Originals in their normal place.
Thank you. Number 8, discussion, action to adopt a resolution to apply for the 2019-2020 Texas Community Development Block Grant. Good morning, sir.
Thank you, Judge. I'm Ray Van with Raymond K. Van and Associates. And first of all, thank y'all for hiring me. That was the first step in the grant process, was to hire a grant administrator. As y'all know, you get the opportunity every couple of years to apply for a community development block grant program. The last one that y'all just completed was the renovation at the Senior Citizen Center. And that was a great grant, really worked out very well. So the time is available again to apply. It's for $275,000. One of the first steps after you hire the grant administrator is to have a public hearing that's advertised and posted. That was advertised, posted, and held on the 14th of this month, and we received no comments. The purpose of that is for the public to say what they want out of the grant. We did receive no comments. However, y'all have all received comments, I believe, on roads, but that we'll talk about in just a second. So the resolution that we have in front of you, I believe y'all have this in your packet. Y'all? Great. That you have in front of you basically makes 5 statements. 1, that you want to apply for this grant. 2, that your application be put into competition with others in the DETCOG region. It doesn't specify DETCOG, but that's what it's saying. 3, that it be for the maximum amount of $275,000. You'll need every penny of that to get anything done. 4, that the court designates the county judge as the person who acts in all matters. He's the go-to person. He's the person that will sign the paperwork. And 5, that you'll do everything in accordance with the rules, regulations, and laws related to this grant should you be approved. That's what the resolution is itself. Now, one of the other items in there, back up to number 3, the $275,000, I was a little presumptuous and went ahead and put in road improvements from some of the discussions I've had with individuals here. That can be changed if necessary. But basically, this grant, there are a lot of eligible activities, but there are only a few activities that can score high enough to get funded. That's going to be road improvements, drainage improvements, water improvements, sewer improvements. Now, sewer, that would be, for example, Water Supply Corporation coming to the county and saying, we'd like to apply for the grant and pass it through y'all because they can't apply on their own. That's been done in the past here in this county, but that was done at a time when road improvements couldn't score high enough to get funded. For the last few cycles, they've actually allowed road improvements to be funded in this region, which is a blessing because so many people need road improvements, and a lot of the water improvements, sewer improvements have been addressed already. So on this resolution you have in front of you, again, it can be changed. I have the item of road improvements based on some of the conversations that we had. Before y'all go into discussion on the actual resolution and to adopt it, I would also like to say there's one other component, and that is the hiring of an engineer. Y'all received, you advertised, reached out to a number of engineering firms. You received a good group of proposals that were due last Friday by noon. And now it's time to look at those over, score those. You have basically an informal committee, usually the county judge, one of the commissioners, the county auditor, to look those over and make a recommendation to Commissioners Court for that. So those, Sally has those. And there's also a score sheet that went out with the request for proposals or request for qualifications. And I'll also send Sally another copy of that score sheet just to make sure she has it in hand so that y'all can, when y'all look that over. But that's what I have. I went very fast, so I'll stop and allow for any questions.
Is there any restriction on the grant for the type of roads? Can it be used countywide?
Yes, sir. It can be used countywide. One of the problems, and I'm glad you mentioned that, one of the problems with Angelina County, as y'all know, there's no problem because this grant has to serve low to moderate income households. There's no problem finding that in Angelina County. However, based on census data, the county as a whole does not qualify for low to moderate income. So if you were to do, unless it's a special group of people that are automatically considered low to moderate income, like the Senior Citizen Center, and I'm pointing to Janice because she's very familiar with that project. We deal a lot of paperwork on that. That particular project qualified low mod because it benefited people 65 years of age and older. Now, to do one that would be a countywide project that benefited everybody in the county, that would require a survey of every person in the county to determine if that 51% is actually low to moderate income. So if you look at roads, my suggestion is that, and y'all may or may not agree with this, it's up to y'all how you do it. Out of $275,000, you're going to get about $200,000 to do actual roads. You can't do road overlays. It has to be a full reconstruction of the roads themselves. So now it could be a rock road and you're improving the base or what have you, but you're going to have about $200,000 worth of construction funds. In these grant funds, as y'all know, that is not much money because when you go out and ask these contractors to come in and do work, they know all the paperwork that goes with it, and it's a tremendous amount of paperwork and burden on them, and therefore the prices go up. I believe we learned that in the bridge project.
Yes,
that's a perfect example. A bridge project that might have cost less than a couple $100,000 ends up costing almost $500,000 by the time you tie all the strings to it that the government puts on it. So my suggestion would be that you pick one or two roads in one or two. Now again, y'all can go and split it 4 ways if you want, but really to get the most bang for your buck is to go and pick really 1 or 2 roads and concentrate on those roads and put the money there, and then the next cycle apply again. And by the way, I did mention that this is competition, so it's not a shoe-in that we're going to get this. We've probably got a pretty good chance, but it's not a shoe-in for sure.
And is it correct that on the 1 or 2 roads that you pick, that we have to do the survey?
Yes.
And it has to be a majority of them is low income or?
Absolutely. 51% of the people, not the houses, of the people have to be low to moderate income. So if you have 5 houses and 4 of them have 1 person each in it, and then you have 1 house that has 12 people in it, And you can see where I'm going, and they're high income and the rest are low income, that knocks you out. If you don't mind, I'll pass these little survey forms out. I've got an example on the front and then a blank one on the back for whatever lucky precinct or precincts get to. I'll pass these out. For better or for worse, Commissioner Pitts is very familiar with these forms. Here, unless you want to knock on yours. You're safe because you'll know what we're talking about here.
We're also on a time frame on this.
Yeah, we're on a
Right.
time frame. The application is due March 13th. One of the things I like to get done is go ahead and get the resolution out of the way because you have to have the public hearing before that. The resolution is pretty much, straightforward. It's all word from the state. So one other thing I will point out, there is not a match requirement on this grant, unlike most other grants. In DETCOG, they do not require a match for the grant.
And you might also mention that there is absolutely no cost to the county or the citizens if the grant is not approved.
Absolutely. Well, there's a small cost, and that's y'all had to run a couple of ads in the newspaper for public hearing notices and all that.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, we and the engineer that you'll end up hiring, we go into this knowing that all of our work is, we're not really grant writers, we're grant administrators. We're hoping to get you funded, so then we can go to work with that 2 years' worth of bureaucracy.
Motion to approve and authorize the judge to sign.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Very
All
good.
right,
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see here. Number 9, discussion action on setting the weekend of September 28th and 29th for the Angelina County Air Fest to be held at Angelina County Airport. Mr. Cruz. We also have our airport manager here. Welcome, Gary.
Come on, Mr. Gary. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing us to be here today in hopes that we could ask for a continuance of what we started 4 years ago and has turned out to be one of the most anticipated events in Angelina County, to the point to where we were actually in competition with some events this past year, and we're kind of concerned about the number of people that we may have baited to the Air Fest from the other events. I'm glad to see the heavy police presence here today. We were hoping nobody from the Catfish Festival or Dieball Days were to show up and speak out against the air show. In light of that, what we've done is we've looked at the calendar to hopefully come up with a weekend to where we're not in competition with anything. This past year, on October the 6th, we had 7 events going on in Angelina County the same day. To the point I don't even remember all of them. It was just, most of them were within 20 miles of the airport. So we had some events that people were competing, and, it's comforting to go into Walmart and somebody go, hey, we were torn that weekend. We didn't know what to do, but we had a kid in the Dieball Day Festival. So we wanted to go to the air show, and we couldn't find a relative to take the kid there so we could go to the air show. Those are the things that we've dealt with. And we looked at the calendar, and we feel like that weekend of September would be our best opportunity to put on a great air show and not be in competition with anything. Takes us off Dieball Day, that takes us off the downtown bistro, that takes us off the drag or tractor pull or whatever was going on, the Catfish Festival and all those other events. And there are no air shows going on that day anywhere either, so that kind of helps us procure performers. On here, what I would like to ask that you consider is we're looking at a 2-day show this year, which would be the 28th and the 29th. But we are asking that you also include Friday the 27th. That's our setup day. We do have a required waiver through the FAA that day for about 2 hours to allow the pilots to fly a practice show. And that waiver time, we would close down the airport for just a couple hours if needed. Typically, if you have 15 performers, you might have 2 or 3 that are unfamiliar with the airport. And for them to become comfortable with the terrain, the fences, and things that they need to avoid during their flights. They'll go out and do a practice flight. So that would be on Friday the 27th, so I'd respectfully ask that you include the 27th, but also for another reason. You may or may not remember, 3 years ago, we had a night show on Friday night, which was a big hit. We brought in Matt Youngkin in his special airplane that had strobes, lights, and flares and everything, and we allowed our sponsors to come in and watch that night show. It was such a big hit that we've been requested to have one on Friday night and Saturday night this year and actually sell tickets to it. Should that be granted, we will look at that, and if we can find a performer that is available for that night, we'll have it. We'll have a waiver for 2 hours Friday night from around 7 to 9, and allow that person to come in and fly, and allow the public to come in and see that as well. Bring in extra funds, because remember, this air show is a benefit for the Marine Toys for Tots campaign in Angelina and Trinity counties. All of the profits from that show stay right here to purchase toys for less fortunate children at Christmas, and that is our mission. And so,
Since the airport manager's here, I'd like to hear his take on everything. Gary?
Yeah, the timing of it has never really caused a problem because they work with us well on getting airplanes out that need to go. The night before when they do the practice, generally that's, they put a 2-hour block, but it's usually less than that. And it's a soft block that where if somebody just calls in on the radio, they can get in. It will close the airspace on the 2 day of the air show, but we can work with that, and they do let the emergency planes fly on that, and the other guys can work theirs. It's always worked out fine on that. The only problem I would address is that most of the people that have private hangars that have their own ramp, they participate in the air show. They don't have a problem with the comings and goings, but we would like to make sure that the permission is granted to maybe the ones that don't have a plane or are not part of the air show, that they would be made it all right with those ramps.
Guys?
I don't have a
That's
problem.
probably the only problem I have.
Sounds good.
Only thing I gotta say is 28th, 29th was what was on our packet. Now, I don't know if it's okay to add another day here yet without it being in writing and brought to us.
That would be something that's gonna be handled through the FAA, and it really doesn't have to be added. The air show was actually the request, and it's Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, that's,
The
and that's
deal,
something that
the night before is something that's handled through the FAA just for practice and everything.
okay.
And that's standard, that's
So I mean,
not
that
actually
date
an air show.
really doesn't mean, we're voting on 28th, 29th. Okay, I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions? Any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
outstanding. Thank you very much.
You bet. All right, number 10, discussion action on approving an equal employment opportunity plan, a EEOP.
Gentlemen, I'd like to table this request. I had hoped to have the plan finalized, but that hasn't happened unfortunately, so I'd like to table it and bring it back to court next month.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Motion passes. It's tabled. All right, number 11, discussion action on request from Sheriff Greg Sanchez for Commissioners Court to accept a donation of furniture from Project Beloved to fully furnish a soft interview room at the Angelina County Sheriff's Office, a room where victims and their families or witnesses can speak to law enforcement. Morning, Sheriff.
Yeah, thank you all for listening today. This is something that was approached to me by one of the CID detectives, Libby Hancock, which in return works a lot with Harold's House. And so she got the idea, and these folks did too, about, having a place. We have an office there, a little small office at the Sheriff Department, that these folks here want to donate some items like some furniture and different chairs and pictures and different things for kids that come in for their, if they got this interview room to talk to the kids and the families as well. to make it much more easier to, user-friendly is around, as I'd call it, kind of big, but more comfortable and not a sterile setting. It'd just be a good asset for interviews for the CID.
More relaxed.
It would be, yeah. And, like I say, Harold's House has that as well, and it works well for them. And so they thought it'd be a good idea to do it over there with us as well.
Okay. Excellent.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Sheriff.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, number 12, discussion action on request from Sheriff's Department for Commissioner Court approval for the submittal of a grant for the purpose of purchasing new software system, record management system, jail management system, mobile and CAD system to bring this agency into compliance with the federally mandated National Incident-Based Reporting System, NIBRS requirements.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Nick's gonna go ahead and pass the information out, so we'll get started here as soon as he gets out. For our reporting system, everybody knows we have Odyssey or Tyler Technologies. But we've had it for a good while, and but like you see there on the Sheriff Department side and the jail side, it's been really, we've had nothing but trouble with that system. And as you know, that reporting these records and crime records and things like that is very important. It's required that we do that. But at the same time, it does affect, we had to meet a 90%, the county does, reporting. And if we don't, then of course, it's gonna hurt us on our grants and different things like that. But it's really, it's a good system. We've checked with other counties. I talked to different sheriffs today. We're looking at Spillman. It's a 100% grant that we'd be asking for to get this system. And Nick will go over the cost of it. It's here in just a second. But I just want to make note that it's a well-needed program because we have to meet this requirement. It's called NIBRS. It's going to take place of the UCR, which is Unified Uniform Crime Reporting. And NIBRS is a different program. It's going to require a lot more detailed reporting than we've had in the past. And so to meet that requirement, this Spillman software program would be able to do that. We've already talked to, according to Tower Technologies, there's no guarantee that it's going to, work well for what we're going to need for the jail and the Sheriff Department side, which affects the county. And so to kind of go into the figures, I'm going to let Nick give you some of the figures of what that would cost. And like I said, it is 100% grant.
I understand that this is a grant application, and
Yes.
it's no cost to the county.
No cost to the county.
If the grant doesn't come through, then we're basically
Still-
not making any changes, not spending any money.
Correct. That is correct.
That's, the entire program that is based upon whether or not we get the grant.
Right.
There's no match. And
Can
it's
I-
through the Office of the Governor.
Let me ask a question. How old is this one y'all have now? This program
The
y'all
current
use?
system we have, we went live for the law enforcement side in 2011.
2011.
The civil side went live in 2010.
Okay. So it's getting old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, but it currently does not meet, the one we have, the version we have does not meet NIBRS compliance. And I can't speak intelligently upon when they might actually develop that NIBRS part and give it to us, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be soon.
Right.
And it certainly doesn't sound like it's going to meet the Texas deadline.
Nick, I want to say one thing while you're on that one thing. So we've had several meetings with them in the past. Nick and the chief and all, we met with them 2 years ago and had a long list of the problems that we're dealing with.
Right.
And we had this big meeting, sit down, went over it, we never got not one response. And so that's some of the issues I'm going.
Right.
And I regret that
When you say them, you're talking about.
Tyler Technologies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met with
Yeah.
Tyler Technologies.
Thank you.
I would
Yeah.
regret I wasn't able to get this packet to
That's
you
okay.
before
You
today.
did good.
But inside the packet is just a letter that I wrote you guys to give you some context of what we're actually talking about. I've also included the funding announcement that was put out from the eGrants website. This is from the Office of the Governor of Texas. Again, it's 100% and there's no match from the county. If we don't get approved, if we don't get the grant, we make no changes, we just go about our business. Also, there's a letter from the Department of Public Safety to the Texas legislator, and it's in there, it's not very long. It addresses the NIBRS compliancy across the state. There's a little bit of NIBRS quick fact. NIBRS is, uniform crime reporting is the way we report to the FBI the crime statistics. That's what it's for. And if you're not compliant with that, you don't get federal grants, okay? They're switching from the UCR summary reporting system to the NIBRS-based system, which is a more detailed system of gathering statistics. And currently, we can't do that. There's a sunset date when you're in your letter that I wrote from the FBI from January 1st of 2021 to be compliant. After that point, they're not going to offer any more support for the summary system. They have a hard deadline of August 2021 to be compliant, or you will not qualify to be eligible for grants. Texas, House Bill 11, in the legislature, the 84th legislature, put a goal of August 2019, which is this year.
Yeah.
And again, Tyler had, from what I understand, Tyler's made no moves to implement that for us at this point. Also included in the packet is the Spielman Flex price guide, basically the quote that they gave us on what it would entail. It's a breakdown, an itemized breakdown of the costs associated with that. To give you some context on that, one of the ways we can offset some of those costs, like the annual price, is by, this system offers a complete system. The RMS for the law enforcement, the JMS for the jail, the CAD system, and a mobile system, all in one. So we don't have to use Odyssey for law enforcement, CAD for dispatch, CopSync, or the new one for the mobile. It's all one system. But we wouldn't have to be paying for the reprice of the CopSync moving forward.
Whereas now you have to add extra fees for each one of these things that are added, but it's going to be in this new program.
And this particular one doesn't require that. You can have as many users as you want.
I understand too that the interface with Odyssey is better with this program you're thinking.
So what we did was I reached out this morning actually to Montgomery County, as you know, is Conroe, and they're significantly larger than we are, and they actually utilize. What we're talking about doing is replacing the law enforcement package of Odyssey. The courts and justice would still be Odyssey. Right. So that's what you're talking about interfacing. Yeah. So I reached out to Montgomery County because they do the same thing. Their courts and justice all use Odyssey, whereas their law enforcement uses Spielman, and that's kind of what we're looking at mimicking. I talked to their IT department this morning, and they had no issues with the compatibility of the integration.
Wow.
So it can be done, and that's what we're
And then also
Senate
County just purchased Spillman too, and they're that's starting August, I think.
Senate County applied for this very same grant, which, by the way, this is the very last NIBRS grant that they're going to have, and our deadline is February the 28th. Unfortunately, they didn't release this funding announcement until late December, so we're scrambling to get all this together, and that's one of the reasons why I was late getting this packet to you, is because we were trying to get it all together. That being said, if we do not get this grant, there's not going to be any more funding opportunities, and you can see the price of cost for what it might take to get into NIBRS compliance.
Understand.
That's Tyler Technology can do.
So you guys think it would really help us with what y'all do?
We do. I tell you, and that's a good question. We put a lot of thought into it because this is a big price, you know,
Yeah.
to buy it. And, but you know, not only has Nick helped us with it and the chief, but IT, we've been dealing with them also because they're, you know, the main ones going. And put a lot of thought into it. I called other sheriffs, you know, like Polk County and San Jacinto County, Montgomery County, who issues, and we've heard nothing but just good things about Spillman. That's good. Know.
A lot of our people came from Nacogdoches, and they use Spillman. A lot of our people just go on about
Nacogdoches.
Yeah. And all this is just it's a grant.
It's
It's
great.
not gonna
Yeah.
cost us anything.
No.
Oh, yeah, I understand, but
Yeah,
And
don't.
it's a grant
Yeah.
that's already been allocated for this purpose. The fundamental reason for this grant is so that agencies, just in the first paragraph of the letter, is so that agencies can become compliant. That's the whole purpose of this grant, and,
yeah,
you know, the money's there,
yeah.
so we go for it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the
Did you need to
floor.
say
Any other
something?
questions?
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. Number 13, discussion and action on a request from the Sheriff's Department for Commissioners Court approval for the submittal of a grant for the purpose of purchasing 35 body-worn cameras to help ensure officer safety, emphasize accountability, assist in prosecution of cases, and increase transparency among the sheriff's office.
Okay, Jeff's gonna pass those out. Wait on him. Of course, we're putting in a grant again, for body worn cameras. It's been something that's been long needed. The reason for the wait is we have the computers, the cameras in our cars are co-band. And co-band, when we use that program or that, video, we, pull up in the parking lot and it automatically downloads. So we wanted to use the same, company because, all that would, integrate together and download at the same time. At first, when the law was passed, regulating this, the co-band just really wasn't up to par as far as quality, I didn't think. At the time, we were kind of waiting it out, and because every generation, every year it gets better and better when it comes to electronics. And then now they've got to a point, we've met with them and talked to them. We feel very good about their body-worn cameras, that also we integrate everything well, download and everything. But there's more to it than that. There's also the fact, every department, when you go to body cameras, you gotta have policies in place. That's required. And then you gotta have your training on it. And then you gotta have enough, download space, on your hard drive. And, that costs money, as we've seen in the past, just dealing with the in-car camera. So, we've been preparing for that. And, so today we're asking for this grant. It's very important that we, utilize body-worn cameras. We've always realized that, but now we're at a point now that we have a grant here that we can put in for and hopefully get that purchase, which will be a little bit over $50,000 for 35 body-worn cameras. And Jeff's gonna go over the figures here with you a little bit.
Okay. Good morning. First off, I kind of prepared a packet for each one of you there to review. And one of the, I will say that there are some adjustments that we are going to make to what we're requesting. Going back, looking at it, we're going to up that, this grant that we're looking for, or we're requesting at this point in time. The key thing here today is the resolution, and it's pretty much the same thing as the block grant resolution that we have to get, because all this stuff has to be submitted with the grant that we're asking. We have a deadline that we have to get this information in. The deadline to have all of this in that the state calls for is February the 28th of this year. However, there are some other deadlines that we will have to meet to present this also, because it will have to go to DEDCOG and different areas there. So the resolution is one of the key points also that we'll need to get approved. I just kind of, the importance of body cameras, as you know, the relationships there between law enforcement and the community has, received enormous scrutiny over the years, and it's becoming more and more. You're getting more and more as time goes on. It can help and it can hurt. And it can also save the entities that are using these liability-wise, as far as getting involved in lawsuits, things of that nature, as it relates to the use of body cameras. There have been a couple of high-profile incidents that have occurred here within Angelina County within the last year that solely from the body-worn cameras, it has helped tremendously with that footage that was captured through that. Also in there, you'll see that since January 1st of this year, up until today's date, there have been, across the U.S., there's been at least 9 officers that have lost their lives. The latest one being this past weekend, as related to a shooting. So the body cams, they capture things that in-car cameras can't capture a lot of times. The type systems that we're looking at, the Coban, these will also be able to be used to download the information and be used as the body mic also, whereas the current system that we're using, just the in-car standalone system, you go inside some buildings and things of that nature, you lose reception of the recording of what's being said, but you know, with the officers and everything. By integrating this particular body cam that we have, that would take care of that problem to a certain degree, which all the audio and video that's being said will be transferred back to, you know, the in-car, and once you get to the office area, we'll upload. In your packet there, you have the type camera. You also have a quote from Coban. However, that's for 35 units. But as I stated, we're going to make some adjustments to that. And it's a grant it's not a matching grant. It's totally 100% grant. It's not a reimbursement grant or anything of that nature. With this, with anything, it comes with the thing that we need more storage. And that will be included in the grant request also. So therefore, also you'll find in the very back of your package, there behind, you know, I put a little research stuff in there from the Department of Justice and different cities here within. I think I stuck San Antonio in there, Arlington, I believe, is some information from them. And I think I put El Paso in there, I'm not real sure, but talking with some of our local people, our local agencies within the county, and that use body cameras, they've all have said that they have been a great help to them. Both it cuts down on, it has decreased a lot of your citizen complaints that you get, and it holds accountability, it holds the officer accountable and makes them accountable, and it creates transparency for you as an agency. So right now, that's where we're at. We're looking at, like I said, the resolution. There are some other things that we'll have to add with the grant that will have to go in with the grant. And I think that's it.
Now, one thing I want to correct, Roy, on that's through the criminal justice grant that has to be voted on. If I'm not mistaken, it said 100%. It cannot. They can choose to also do 100%, right?
Well, it'll have to be scored by.
That's what I mean.
Right.
DECOG board, and
Right.
then whatever the top projects are funded, and they'll fund that, however, how much money they have, that's the projects that'll get
Yes.
funded. This might not, if it doesn't score high enough, it won't get funded at all, but it's still 100%, whatever they approve it at.
Yeah.
You'll know going into it, what it.
Right.
Yeah.
I had 2 questions. One, this is the same type of equipment you're already using.
Yes, the
Yes,
Coban
in the
camera
vehicles.
system, yes, it is.
Right.
Same
Yeah,
problem.
so the body cameras and voice recording and everything will download to the car to the same type of equipment's already. And the second question is a question to the IT. Have you talked to IT as far as what kind of extra storage and this sort of thing?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Where are we at on that?
We've got a quote to give to Mr. Taylor in regards to the extra storage needed. We haven't gotten an actual estimate from Coban yet, but we feel like the quote that we've given him is more than enough for what they're gonna require.
Okay.
Are these cameras, are they the ones that, like, start to get out of their car, they just reach and touch it, it comes
Yes.
on?
And the
But it
way
don't stay on the whole ship,
No,
right?
no,
Okay.
no. They're going to be, the way that they're going to be set up, It's pretty much like the in-cars, our cameras are set up right now. If the lights are activated, or anytime the lights are activated, and, they get out, the body cam will be activated as well as the in-car.
Oh, okay.
They can, you can set them up however, they will have you can set the time frame up where it has a 2-minute, delay, even though it's not recording, a prior event, buffer also.
Yes, sir. I got a motion approved.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Any other questions?
Go-
Oh, yes, sir.
go ahead, sir.
Chief.
Probably the resolution needs to be in the minutes allowing you to sign the resolution.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. You want to read the resolution?
Okay. Okay. Resolution, whereas the Angelina County Commissioners finds it in the best interest of the citizens of Angelina County, Texas, that the body-worn camera system body-worn camera system grant sponsored through the criminal justice, let me get over here, be operated for the grant period FY 2020, and this is also in your package there.
Yes, sir.
Whereas the Angelina County Court agrees that in the event of loss or misuse of the Office of Governor's funds, Angelina County Commissioners Court assures that the funds will be returned to the Office of the Governor in full, okay? Whereas Angelina County Commissioners Court designates Sheriff Greg Sanchez as the grantee's authorized official. The authorized official is given the power to apply, accept, reject, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency, which will be the Sheriff's Office. Now therefore be resolved that the Angelina County Commissioners Court approves submission of the grant application for the body-worn camera criminal justice grant program to the Office of the Governor, signed, passed, and it has the date there and it has the judge's signature. The grant application number is 3730701.
I'll go ahead and revise that the county judge does sign.
All right.
Anybody
Second.
second
All
on
agree?
that?
All right. Yes, sir.
In the previous one also, I don't know how we go.
Same thing.
It has to be the same resolution to go in with the grant as well.
I meant to ask about it, and I let it get by, but it's okay. All right.
And I will note that there's one other document that will have to be signed both by the county judge or the chief executive officer of the county and the sheriff that goes in with the grant.
Sure.
Also.
Chief, if you want to go ahead, you want to go ahead and read that grant for the previous one? And also, if you would, revise that.
I'll revise it in just a
Yes,
second. Yes,
please.
sir.
My apologies.
That's
I did
all
have the
right. Go on.
resolution in my chair and I didn't. have it up there,
That's
so
not a problem.
It basically is the same language, and I had the county attorney look at it, he's okay with it. Whereas the Angelina County Commissioners finds it in the best interest of the citizens of Angelina County, Texas, that the National Incident-Based Reporting System, NIBRS, grant for the software system by Spielman will be operated for the 2020 grant period. And whereas Angelina County Commissioners Court agrees that in the event of or loss of misuse of the Office of the Governor funds, Angelina County Commissioners Court assures that the funds will be returned to the Office of the Governor in full. Whereas Angelina County Commissioners Court designates Sheriff Greg Sanchez as the grantee's authorized official. The authorized official is given the power to apply for, accept, reject, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency. Now therefore, be it resolved that Angelina County Commissioners Court approves submission of the grant application for the National Incident-Based Reporting System, NIBRS grant, for the software system by Spielman to the Office of the Governor, and then signed the date and your signature. The grant number is also, it's 3728001.
This is on item 12 for the record.
Item 12, yes, sir, thank you.
Okay.
One other thing, involved in this one here was the NIBRS grant. If it's approved, then we would have to work out a contract with the vendor that we deal with and bring that back to the court, the contract, and get it for its understanding.
That's not a problem.
That would be down.
Okay.
Y'all want to thank y'all too for listening to us. And as you can tell, we put a lot of thought. We've got a good team, and we put a lot of thought and research into this. So we'll make sure we're making the right decision for the county, you know, cost-wise and being efficient and also just safety of the officers.
You bet.
Yeah,
Thank y'all. Good job.
Did we ever vote on that last one?
Yes.
Huh?
there's
No, we
still-
have not.
Yeah.
Have not voted on the last one.
The
Okay.
one where I amended,
For the change,
yes,
for the change.
for
All right,
that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
For the
we haven't
camera.
voted on that one yet. Then I gotta back up
We got
and
a
redo
Body
first.
it.
cameras, yeah.
we got a first and a second?
Yes,
Okay.
with
All
the
right.
judge signing.
For the adjustment with the judge signing.
Right.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Now, I need to back up on number 12
Yes,
for the NIBRs,
yes.
right? Okay,
Amend your motion.
I make a motion, that we approve the NIBRs and with the judge's signature.
With the resolution.
Oh, yeah, with the resolution and the
resolution.
judge's signature. So,
All right.
that's a motion.
Same second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
We
All right, thank
we
you.
got through it. Okay,
All right,
good job, guys.
very good job. All right, number 14, discussion action on the 2018 budget transfer from emergency management.
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
This mine?
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 15, discussion action on the 2018 budget transfer from the Sheriff's Department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, number 16, discussion action on advertising for bids for the lease on the farmer's market. All right, guys.
So we need to put that in the paper?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for putting the advertising for bids for the lease on the farmer's market, putting it in the paper. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 17, discussion action on request from Road and Bridge. Number 4, for permission to advertise to receive bids for the sale of 2 2016 Cat motor graders and 1 F-350 cabin chassis.
These are equipment that motor grader that we're updating on our lease purchase, and an old F-350 truck that we had for a shop truck that we're no need of, we're gonna get rid of. So encourage the court to support.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 18, consider any miscellaneous and routine items.
This looks like we got 6 different miscellaneous items on here. 1 from JP1, 3 from Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, 1 from the collections director, Michael Smith, and 1 from the tax assessor collector's office. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 19, consider approval and authorization for payment of bills as submitted by the county auditor.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for the county to pay the bills. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Recess or adjourn, number 20.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, motion to adjourn. Looking for a second.
Second.
Okay.
Well, gathered
All in
here.
favor, long meeting. Okay. Thank y'all for your patience. Appreciate it.